Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Bonehead Collective, and welcome to episode 2 of Fable-top. We finally settled on a name. I haven't got a fancy graphic for it yet, but we're working on it. This is follow-up to part 1, where last episode we talked about world building and how we go about that in our different approaches. This week we are tackling Diddy's subject, which is...
Darkvision.
Ah, okay.
A little bit simpler than world building.
Yeah. I probably came off a bit strong. But to be fair, out of the topics I did have picked, that was the only one that probably wasn't heavy.
Yeah.
So, what is it about Darkvision that irks you?
Right. Well, in the player's handbook, Darkvision is described. Many creatures in the worlds of D&D, especially those that dwell underground, have dark vision. Within a specified range, a creature with dark vision can see in dim light as if it were in bright light, and in darkness as if it were in dim light. I found, including subraces, I think it was 14 subraces that had dark vision, and only 9 that didn't.
I'm assuming the ones that don't kind of make sense.
The ones that don't, from what I can remember, are humans, Aarakocra, Ganassi, Goliath, and there was someone else. And all of their various subraces.
I believe halflings don't have dark vision.
That's the one. Yep, halflings. See, a 14-9 split. I mean, 14 is quite a lot. It's 60.8%.
Oh, you've done the math.
Yeah. 60.8% of races and subraces in D&D have dark vision. I think that's a bit overpowered.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see where you're coming from. I remember we had like a small discussion on this last night, where we were trying to pass how like elves might have it. And I do remember the point being brought up that obviously, like in Tolkien's version of elves, like they could see for miles at a time. So, like,
Yeah.
and for the most part, D&D in its early stages was based heavily around like Tolkien's lore. So it kind of makes sense, in at least to me, that the creators of D&D, back when it wasn't Wizards of the Coast back in the day, it was called something else. I could kind of see where they were going from, thinking like if elves have like fucking like natural binoculars, they might have natural night vision as well. But
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not really the same thing.
No.
Being able to see really far in bright light and being able to see brightly in dim areas. I'd say it would make sense for races like gnomes, like deep gnomes especially, and dwarves, because they would spend a lot of their time underground. So it would make more sense for them to have dark vision. But races like elves, they're going to be spending most of their time out in the open, in bright sunlight anyway.
I mean, I suppose it would make more sense for someone like drow elves to have dark vision, as they're typically like out of the sunlight in the Underdark. The only other thing I could maybe think of in defense for at least the elves is like wood elves are typically like the go-to class for like hunters, like ranger class. So maybe they need that night vision, or they developed it to hunt prey at night.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose like Dragonborn don't have night vision either, I believe.
I think that was, yeah.
Because I was going to say,
think they don't.
Because I know, like, I think it makes sense that like Tabaxi have night vision, because obviously real world cats have better sight. The one,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, go on. No, go.
I just checked. Like, because I said Aarakocra don't have it, and I was thinking, what about Owlfolk? Do Owlfolk have it? And yes, they do have it.
That's weird, because I'm fairly sure. Like, I'm gonna double check this. I know my note checking last time was a bit poor, but fortunately I have tabs ready. I'm fairly sure Owls don't have dark vision. They don't. A nighttime... Yeah, I'm looking, because obviously, like, in your campaign, I have my familiar Croft, who is an owl.
Yeah.
He gets advantage on wisdom perception checks that rely on hearing and sight, but he doesn't have dark vision. Oh, no, I lied. It's right there.
Okay.
But
surely, like, these other, like, there must be other, like, actual bird races that are nocturnal that come under the umbrella of Aarakocra.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, in my stupidity, I also just realised it was meant to be cats. Tabaxi have dark vision, but from what we found out in Critical Role Campaign 2, through Liam O'Brien's cat Frumpkin, cats can't see in the dark in D&D, the 5th edition.
See what I mean? It makes no sense.
But to be fair, because I fucked that up last time, I am going to double check this now as well. But I'm fairly sure that was like one of the things they constantly ran into.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they have a decent passive perception, but cats don't have dark vision. Even though they're obviously better suited in low light conditions than humans.
Yeah. Let me just check my notes again. Because I copy and pasted it off some website listing all the different races. So it's races with dark vision: dwarves, both hill and mountain; elves, high, wood, and drow; gnomes, forest, rock, and deep; half elves, half orcs; tieflings, fire genasi; eldarin, and Aasimar.
See, the one that don't make sense there would probably be like the half variants, like half orc, half elf.
Yeah.
Because I mean, maybe like it could be like a statistic, like maybe like 1 in 100 do develop that. But like I've always seen at least like, and I could have missed a point here, but I've always seen the point of like half breeds being like more aesthetic, like they just have like aesthetic traits of parents.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we are. Like obviously we take like hair color, and like if my dad was like a beast on guitar, could like absolutely shred, I don't inherently inherit that. Like I would still have to practice to get to that point.
Yeah, and the 9 sub races without dark vision: halflings, lightfoot, and stout; humans, dragonborn, Aarakocra; air, water, and earth genasi; and Goliath. It's 14-9 split. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of see, but then I suppose, I don't know, this could really go either way, because if you've got less races that have dark vision, then they're going to become like the mutually exclusive ones. Like you'll have like 9 races that are only ever played against the 14 that aren't touched.
But it also kind of adds, like, you're not going to have a full party of like spellcasters or a full party of like locksmiths. So having just like one member of the party, because having dark vision is fairly rare, and someone might not want to play a certain race because it doesn't fit well with their class. Having just like one member of the party with dark vision, that could like give them that skill. Like you have one person who's good at ranged weapons, one person who's good at lockpicking, one person who's good at smashing stuff with a hammer, you know?
This is something I've never actually thought to ask, because I was about to bring something up, but Enril, what is his race in our game?
That's a good question.
Because Zenfire's a Goliath, so he doesn't have dark vision.
Yeah.
Varud is a mountain dwarf? I don't think I've ever heard... Yeah, because he's never once referred... No, he was a hill dwarf, because he mentioned like
hill
living wilderness. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't believe I've... It sounds bad, because we've been playing for like months now, but...
Half elf.
Half elf, there you go. So him and I are the only ones with dark vision. But then that's the kind of point I was leading to, like with like kind of bouncing off what you said. Like, as the group, we don't need like 4 lots of dark vision, because I'm fairly sure Enrul probably has a cantrip or something that lets him produce light, even though he doesn't need it.
Yeah.
So
It would. Dwarves do have dark vision as well.
yeah, no, I think I was just being an idiot again there and like misspoke. Yeah, so
Yeah, in the whole party, 3 of you have dark vision,
and
which it is like 3 of you being good at lockpicking, or 3 of you being good at like ranged weapons.
yeah, I mean, I suppose I can see your point with this now. Like, obviously, having so many races that do have dark vision, you are going to end up with this problem of you're never going to be able to have... Like, at this point, the only way you'd be able to trip any of us is if you used, like, a darkness spell. Like, magical darkness, that dark vision doesn't work. But I did read in the player's handbook, because I do enjoy making warlocks. I've been bouncing back and forth with one. Warlocks get a eldritch invocation called Devil Sight, which is basically like dark vision on crack. So you can see 120 feet in any darkness, in pure color. So it's not the shades of grey like dark vision, and it can see through magical darkness as well.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I think at this point you'd probably rather have 3 people who can just see, like in like low light and dark light, against someone who can just see everything forever.
That's the thing. If you're going to have it so that like all of these 14 races do have dark vision, you could have it as it's like Devil's Sight, where it's just a cantrip. So like some races will just have dark vision, and then other races that might not be like evolved to have dark vision, like dwarves and gnomes would. Say elves could have dark vision just as a cantrip, like as a racial cantrip.
Yeah, because I'm fairly sure, because I play a character who has it like built in inertly. I don't know, I'm trying to use fancy words and I never know if they fit, but I have a character who naturally, that's the word, comes with dark vision. But I'm fairly sure dark vision in and of itself is a spell or a cantrip, isn't it?
Just look at it. A bit of fact checking here. Dark vision cantrip. My God, and it is 2nd level transmutation. You touch a willing creature to grant it the ability to see in the dark for the duration. That creature has dark vision out to a range of 60 feet.
Yeah, so
I mean, yeah, that's just have that. You don't need to have it as a racial trait for anything other than the gnomes and the dwarves then.
Yeah, it's more than half of the races at this point.
Yeah. Which, like, I think I looked, and it's about 73% of the UK with some kind of glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a technical term, like
spectacles.
Corrective lenses.
There
That's it. Like 73% of the UK wears some kind of corrective lens, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, like the 27% that don't, I think that should be the percentage of races that have dark vision.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that way you could use the argument like art imitates life in a sense. But then, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the problem would then go to its 14 races would probably be used less and less because of not having the trait, to the point where people would exclusively play the 9 races with, just to save themselves spell slots.
Yeah, but is dark vision that necessary? Because I mean, if you take a Dungeoneers pack, for example, that's got a torch in it.
I suppose, like, for characters like rogues, you're going to want to pick
Yeah.
Just because you obviously don't want to, like, while you're sneaking about, strike up a fucking torch, yeah.
It's got fucking light, you bastard!
Yeah. So, sorry, my cat's decided to join in. So obviously, like, you don't want to, like, give your position away if you're, like, being sneaky, but... Then you've got characters like Varud who don't necessarily rely on their dark vision and would rather go in, like, guns blazing.
Yeah, but even though he is a dwarf, he goes in guns blazing. He doesn't need dark vision for sneaking at all.
Oh, little boy, come here. Give Daddy a hug. There you go. Good boy. So this is Laurel, who'll be joining us for the foreseeable future.
You'll be making many guest spots on the show.
He's an attention seeker. But he gets bored very easily. Don't chew that. I need that. Don't chew that. Moving on before he destroys my equipment. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I'm, like, keeping it as a spell. I think I've realised this argument is very much like I'm for dark vision as a racial thing and you're against it. Mate, we are going to come to blows.
He's going for it. He's going for it.
He loves it. Yeah, I suppose, like, for, like, myself or, like, spellcasters, having to give up a spell slot for dark vision is kind of like... I see it'd be one of those ones that fall by the waypoint, because you'll end up with someone like Zenfire, who in the Wednesday game wanted Goggles of Night to counteract it. So
yeah, I mean, would you be more willing to switch sides if it wasn't a second level spell and it was a cantrip?
Yeah, I think that'd be a bit better. I think, yeah, because at the end of the day, nobody really gives a toss about their cantrips once they get, like, second level spells anyway, so... yeah,
What's this, Thunderclap? I've got Thunder Wave now. Bye-bye.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'd probably be, like, a more welcome change to have it as, like, a cantrip.
Down he goes.
Yep. He's actually pierced the wire on that one. Good one. Thanks, Laurel.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I suppose it's kind of like last night when we were discussing, like, if we had a wish spell, like, how far would we take it?
Yeah.
I suppose, like, this is more that on a refined level of, like, how much change and what change is considered good while keeping everyone happy. And I think yeah, dark vision as a cantrip, 100%. Or maybe a first level spell, because, like, once you get into the higher level spells again anyway, like, especially when you get into, like, the 10s, like, you don't really fall back on first level spells unless it's, like, absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Or at least I'm assuming, like, the only spellcaster I play is a cleric, so, like, all of my spells are basically, like, team focused instead of, like, offensive.
Well, if it was... How long does it say it lasted? 8 hours. Blimey.
Oh, fuck me running, yeah.
I was going to say, oh, if it only lasts for like 10 minutes, then maybe if you cast it at higher level spell slots, it increases by 10 minutes each time. No, it just lasts 8 hours as a second level spell. Oh, okay.
It's like, I believe it's polymorph or true polymorph, or it could be both. But there's a certain point, there's a certain level you can cast it at where it lasts for a straight year.
Jesus.
Yeah, it might be the true polymorph. Again, gonna double check this. But yes, yeah, I think if it was, like, you know, like 10 minutes at a time, or maybe like an hour, then cantrip would probably be better. But then if it is like 8 hours, and it gives you like the full effect, I'd say it depends on the range as well. If it was like the 120 feet, or if, I don't know, for some reason you could bump it up to something like a Twilight Cleric who gets like 200 feet or something, like 240 feet of dark vision, then yeah, that's definitely going to have to be a spell.
Polymorph is concentration up to 1 hour.
Might be true polymorph then.
That said it was concentration up to an hour as well.
I'm fairly sure, like,
Well, this is a whole section that won't get in the edit. Just the creature. If the spell becomes permanent, you no longer control the creature. It might remain friendly to you depending on how you have treated it. That's true polymorph. But how would it become permanent?
For true polymorph, I believe they just have to wait out the duration for it.
Which is an hour. Concentration up to an hour.
But I think true polymorph...
That's for true polymorph.
Oh, that is true polymorph.
Yeah.
No, I think it was like a charm person or a command spell.
Okay. Oh, just like mass suggestion or something?
Something like that. It's one of those spells along those lines, and if you cast it at like 8th or 9th level, like the duration's like a year.
Mass suggestion when using a 9th level spell slot lasts for a year and a day.
Oh, at least they're super specific on that.
Yeah, 366 days. No more, not less.
How embarrassing would that be? To be like, yeah, charm spells ended, and they're like, no.
You got to cast it on like the 28th of February.
Oh, so it's a leap year.
Yeah, so that like the year before a leap year, I think that might work.
I'm not gonna.
So that technically it wouldn't finish on March No, because then it would technically finish earlier.
You're frying my brain with this. I can't wrap my head around this.
You got to cast it on the 29th of February in a leap year.
Right.
Of course you cast it in a fucking leap year. It's the 29th of February.
So then that means technically the spell would have to last 4 more years, so it wraps around to the next day.
It says 1 year.
But if
does a year? Yeah. Would a year be counted as the same date?
If it's a year
365 days from
and
now?
you cast it on the 29th, it'd have to hit the 30th of February. If the 30th of February doesn't exist, it's got to wait until it does exist. So it's got to wait those 4 years for a leap year to cycle round.
No, because the 30th of February doesn't exist anyway.
Does it not? I thought in a leap
No,
year...
it's 28 and then 29 in leap years.
Then, yeah, so you want to do it on the 28th, then I don't pay attention when it is a leap year,
No,
dude.
no, because if it goes by that logic, if you cast it on the 29th of February, then it's going to wait till the next 29th of February, which is 4 years.
Yeah.
Then it will try and look for the 30th of February, which doesn't exist, so it will just keep going round and round.
So you've just got a permanent mass suggestion spell.
Yeah. Hacked.
That is kind of fucked how we found that by accident.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have hacked mass suggestion. You are welcome.
I suppose, like, this just kind of proves, though, like, in general, that, like, sometimes the player's handbook's wording is either too specific or not specific enough.
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, the one I keep mentioning to you is in the player's handbook when it comes to building a cleric. Like, the book expressly says, and I took note of this, by 2nd level, you have learned to draw on divine magic through meditation and prayer to cast spells as a cleric does. So you think, right, so cleric spells... Wisdom modifier? No. Charisma modifier? Because I can't remember who I was helping. I was helping Zenfire, because he wanted to set up a paladin. And we probably spent a good 20 minutes just trying to figure it out. And it's only when you go further into the spellcasting ability part for a paladin, or the quick build, it was actually what I figured it out through, the quick build section, where it says charisma's your focus, then strength, then whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if they're casting spells, like, worded as a cleric does, then you would automatically assume wisdom as your spellcasting ability. It's...
It make no sense.
It don't. Like, they should be like, oh, you can cast... Like, they should word it as, you can cast spells like a cleric does, but off your charisma modifier. Just those few extra words. Like, they could have put a fucking comma and then carried it on if they were running out of breath. But, they could have solved... Because I don't know if that tripped me up. I don't know if that's tripped anyone else up, but...
Also, there's a whole thing about bright light, dim light, and complete darkness. Which I don't know if anyone has ever actually used in a game at all.
I mean, admittedly, when it comes to me putting dark areas in, I don't really remember the dim light, bright light thing. I think in situations we've been in under you and Lee as well, we haven't had... So, on Fridays when we play with Lee, he uses the Roll20 battle maps, and they use dynamic lighting. But the dynamic lighting doesn't account for dim light, bright light. It's just, this is your vision in a dark room up to whatever your dark vision says.
Right.
So I think that's why we forget about it as well. I don't know if Roll20 has a dim light function, and Lee just turns it off for everyone's sake, or...
Yeah, because in the player's handbook it says you can see dim light as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light. Which I just... What's the point?
I mean, I can kind of... I suppose it's kind of like torchlight in real life. Like, obviously, you've got, like, your initial brightness, and then, like, the darkness absorbs light and all that shit, if you want to throw physics into it. But... Laurel, leave my wire alone, bud. Yeah, I don't know. I have less of a problem with the dim light, low light, just because it is forgotten. Like, it probably could be written out of the PHB and the DMG with, like, zero repercussion, like, to anyone. I think the one that a lot of people forget about that should be noted. Don't you dare. Oh, you almost turned off my computer. I think the one people forget about is dark vision you're meant to see in shades of grey.
Yes, if it is darkness and you're seeing it as dim light, then it's supposed to be grey. If it's dim light and you're seeing it as bright light, then you can see it in colour.
Yeah, but a lot of people forget that, and there's been situations in one-shots and campaigns where we have been in what is essentially the pitch black, and I've heard players ask, "Oh, what does it look like?" And then the DM would give a colour, and it's just kind of like, you can't do that. But that's no. But again, that's one of those things, kind of like dim light, low light, that gets overlooked.
Yeah. And
I don't think anyone would complain because, well, it kind of would, because the moment you get rid of like dim light, low light, and like the shades of grey, you remove the need for something like the Devil's Sight Invocation.
Yeah.
Which is meant to be like a specialist ability kind of thing, because I don't know if there's a class or a race that gets that like innately. All I've seen it through so far is a warlock, but I could be wrong on that. Again, commenters down below will probably... No, look, you're dangerously close to that fucking power button, my boy.
The Redditors will correct us, do not worry.
Yeah, but that's fine. Like, I'd rather be corrected, like, on something minor like that than...
Yeah.
Can you stop? Are you seeing this?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever keeps him happy, I suppose. But...
Until he electrocutes himself.
Oh, well, he might learn a lesson that way.
Spicy noodle.
But, wait, alright, off you go. Right. I'm gonna have to ground you. I'm sorry, this podcast has devolved into my kitten being a nightmare. Over this side, please. So I think the long and short of what we could take away from this is dark vision, as it stands, is effectively pointless.
Yeah.
I mean, I do get where you're coming from. It's there's probably too many races who can just naturally use this, and obviously players are going to want every advantage they can get, so they're going to play one of these races. I do think maybe putting it as a cantrip, or at least a first level spell, given its duration of 8 hours, would be a better balance for it.
Yeah, it's just 8 hours is a long time, I think. Because, like, if you just cast that at the start of, like, an episode of whatever you're playing, like, that's going to be basically the whole thing. Like, if you're going into Storm a Castle or you're going into Explore a Cave, you just cast it, boom, there you go, you got Darkvision for this session.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, and then, like, low-level spell, if you're going to burn it at the beginning of the session, or as a cantrip, and then you do take a long rest in between where it would ultimately run out, because it's a low-level slot and or cantrip, it's not really going to be that much of a bother to burn.
Exactly. So it's only a second-level spell.
Yeah, man, like... I don't know. I think this is one of those things where we could turn to the commenters, as this is something everyone's going to have an opinion on. For all we know, we're going to get called fucking idiots for this.
Yeah, like, I think it would make a bit more sense if it was like a cantrip and it lasted for 10 minutes. So, yeah, maybe you're guiding this human fighter through this cavern system for a bit, but then as soon as something interesting needs to happen, like a fight, or they need to bust open a door, you can cast this 10-minute cantrip of Darkvision on them, and they can see well enough to do whatever they need to do.
I'm assuming you wouldn't have it concentration as well, would you?
Oh god, no.
Yeah. Yeah, because you'd basically... But then, it's... what did you say? It was a transmutation spell?
Yes.
So, is it like one spellcaster who can cast it specifically, does it say? Or like, is it like a sorcerer spell, wizard spell, or is it like one of those universal?
I had it in my tabs and I just closed the tab for some reason. Druid, Ranger, Sorcerer, Wizard, and Artificer.
So basically everyone other than Warlock, because they get Darkvision as a invocation.
And Paladin and Cleric, yeah.
I mean, that's not too bad. You're not going to have everyone then... Because, I mean, like we were saying earlier, ultimately... You're not going to have, like, 4 people who are all spellcasters, so you're not going to have to worry about everyone just instantly, like, you know, giving themselves a pat on the back and can see in the dark now.
Like, if it's a cantrip and it casting time is 1 action, range is touch, even if you have just, like, one person, say, the wizard, that has dark vision because they're a gnome, that just touch.
Yeah.
And then they all have dark vision. It's not that much of a problem.
No, I mean, I've just been looking at like other races. This is mostly like homebrew stuff, but there is a rabbit folk homebrew page, and they have dark vision to 60 feet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And literally, the only reason I can think of that in my mind is like what your mum tells you when you're little, like you eat carrots, you see in the dark. That's the only logic I can see behind that one. Because
rabbits are nocturnal, same as owls. I mean, yeah, all nocturnal-based animal races and races that are most likely to live underground, like gnomes and dwarves, yeah, they should have them. But stuff like half-elves, no.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if the debate really wanted to go that far, I suppose it would be one of those things that's left to like the DM's discretion at the end of the day as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think
well, you picked a half elf. They're not allowed to have dark vision. I said so.
Yeah, like to be fair, there is 100% at least one person out there who DMs that way.
Oh god, I never want to meet them.
There is some guy out there who is like a purely human game in a purely human setting, and I don't know.
Boring.
Yeah, that is a world I don't want to live in.
Yeah.
But I think we should wrap that there. So guys, thank you very much for watching episode 2 of the Fable-top podcast. Episode 3 and 4 should be coming sometime next week as well. Next week, I believe we're also going to have a guest on already. But don't hold us to that. We're going to hold him to that, though. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below if you like what you see, if you want to suggest any topics for us to talk, or if you'd just like to share your opinion on anything we've mentioned today. As for now, I've been Bonehead.
And I've been Diddy.
And I will leave you with a question. Is a tabaxi penis barbed, or is it human-like? Thank you all so much for watching.